In a world where noise surrounds us at every turn and expectations weigh heavy on our shoulders, the pursuit of fulfillment can feel, well, overwhelming. We chase after success, approval, and possessions, believing they will bring us lasting happiness. But the truth is, those things often leave us feeling empty or unsatisfied. So we must ask ourselves, what if the deep sense of fulfillment we are looking for doesn't come from anything external, but from something far greater? True fulfillment isn't found in possessions, achievements, or the applause of others. It is found in God. When we allow Him to fill the spaces in our hearts and minds, we discover a peace that transcends all understanding, a joy that cannot be shaken by circumstances, and a purpose that goes beyond our own ambitions. In the book of Jeremiah, God speaks directly to His people, saying, Jeremiah 29:11, this scripture reveals God's heart for us, a heart filled with hope, not harm. The fulfillment we seek is embedded in His plans for our lives. We don't need to chase after fleeting success or validation from the world. We have a purpose, a future that God has already prepared for us, and in trusting Him, we begin to understand how that purpose leads to a deeper sense of fulfillment. Take a moment to reflect on this. How often do we try to carve out our own path, relying on our own strength and wisdom? How often do we get caught up in the pursuit of external markers of success, money, career, fame, believing they will bring us lasting happiness? The truth is, while these things may bring temporary satisfaction, they cannot provide the deep, lasting fulfillment our souls long for. True fulfillment isn't about what we achieve or acquire. It's about knowing and trusting in the one who created us, the one who holds our future in His hands. In the Gospel of John, Jesus invites us into a life of abundance when He says, I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. John chapter 10, verse 10. Notice that Jesus doesn't promise a life free of struggle, pain, or difficulty, but He does promise something far more valuable, life to the fullest. In Him we discover a life overflowing with purpose, peace, and joy that cannot be taken away. It's not the abundance of material things, but the abundance of His presence in our lives. Think about your life right now. What are the things that you have been chasing after, hoping they would bring you fulfillment, career accomplishments, relationships, possessions, or perhaps approval from others? Take a deep breath and ask yourself, what would it look like to place all of these desires in God's hands, trusting Him to provide what you truly need? It's often when we let go of our need to control every aspect of our lives that we experience the peace of trusting in God's perfect timing and plan. God's fulfillment is not a quick fix or a temporary pleasure. It's a deep-rooted contentment that can only come when we surrender to His will. In the Psalms, we are reminded, Psalm 23, verse 1, when we place our trust in God, we lack nothing. He is our provider, our protector, our sustainer. It is in His hands that we find true peace and security, knowing that He will always supply what we need in His perfect timing. Reflect on the ways God has already fulfilled your life. Have there been moments where you experienced a sense of peace or purpose that didn't come from anything you did, but simply from His presence? Maybe it was a time of quiet contentment, or perhaps it was when you were able to see the beauty of life through God's eyes, even in the midst of difficulties. God's fulfillment is not about achieving perfection or accumulating worldly success. It's about trusting that He is enough and that His love and grace are sufficient to fill every longing in our hearts. The Apostle Paul writes in Philippians, "I have learned to be content, whatever the circumstances." Philippians 4:11. Contentment doesn't come from having everything we want. It comes from knowing that God is enough, that His presence in our lives fills every need. It's when we stop striving to fill ourselves with the things of this world and instead allow God's love to saturate us that we experience true fulfillment. Pause and ask yourself, how can I allow God to fill me today? What areas of my life do I need to surrender so that He can work in and through me? The path to fulfillment begins when we turn our hearts to God, when we seek His will above our own desires, and when we rest in the assurance that He knows what's best for us. The world around us is constantly changing. Circumstances shift, relationships evolve, and challenges arise. But the fulfillment found in God remains constant. His love never fails. His grace is always sufficient, and His purpose for our lives will never be shaken. In the book of Isaiah, God assures us, Isaiah 26:3, when we set our minds and hearts on Him, trusting in His goodness, we are filled with peace that cannot be disturbed by the uncertainties of life. As we continue on this journey of life, may we always remember that fulfillment is not found in the things we accumulate, the titles we earn, or the approval we seek. True fulfillment is found in God alone. In Him, we are fully known, deeply loved, and perfectly provided for. As we lean into His presence and trust in His plans for us, we find that His fulfillment is more than enough to satisfy the deepest longings of our souls. Take a moment now to reflect on the fullness of life that God offers you and may you walk in the peace and fulfillment that only He can give. Have a beautiful day.